Hey everyone, TheOfftrackcrew here, and it's day 7 of Fire Emblem February. One of the things I think about the most when I play Fire Emblem is how many layers of narrative there are and how they tie together. Now when I say layers, I don't mean how deep it is. What I'm talking about are the stories that are being told and by which viewpoint are they being received. This video may get a bit meta, but stick with me because I hope I can offer you an interesting time. To start off, when it comes to Fire Emblem, obviously it's a video game series that features lords, knights, heroes, and dragons. Here you can play as a professor who is essentially a groomer science experiment or a blue-haired fellow trying to kill a dragon. We know that's just a game though. When it comes to Fire Emblem, there are usually two layers of storytelling. There's us in the real world playing the game, and the characters in Fire Emblem experiencing the story as if it were their lives. Whether we play as an avatar or someone who's already a defined main character, I would say that the relationship between us, the player, and the game is the first layer of Fire Emblem telling its story. To an extent, we are also an active participant in the story. Say if we have Urk move too far forward and he dies. Because it's a game, we can reset and pretend it didn't happen. However, for the characters you are playing as, when death happens, it's very real to them. So when we're playing the game and a character dies, that death becomes part of our experience in the story we're engaging with, and real for everyone else around them if we look at Fire Emblem within the context of its own world. Outside of player input though, the characters remain with the same agency they would normally have. Hector, for example, is always going to help Eliwood, and Robin will always meet Chrom and eventually be his tactician. But the things the player does have control over, such as how a battle goes and what ending a character gets, it just is real to the character as their own decisions. So when it comes to the idea of what is canon in Fire Emblem, I would say the most canon account of the story is the one you, the player, are experiencing. Either way, by playing the game and going through those story beats, we're building the story of the characters. So when we're going through the story, after our characters defeat the final boss and we beat the game, our relationship with the character as a player and a participant of the story ends as soon as the credits roll and we see their epilogue. But if we view the epilogues within the context of the characters existing in their own world, their lives continue past that point. That's why characters' epilogues read as if they're historical accounts. Through playing the game, we're etching our characters' names in history. I would argue that's an overarching theme of the series. The last narrative layer I want to bring up is how this relates to history and origin stories in Fire Emblem. Most Fire Emblem games open up with an historical epic of the past, explaining how the continent was formed. An important thing in all those stories is that there's always a band of chosen heroes who save the world and shape what's left of it. Sometimes our characters are directed descendants of them. When we go back to what I said earlier about us players crafting the character stories with them, when we're playing Fire Emblem then, we're succeeding those heroes of old, be it the 8 legends in the League or the 12 Crusaders of Drugdrill. In playing these games, we're turning our characters into modern day heroes and legends, and completing the story is essentially following in their footsteps, finishing what they started, or addressing their failures. Our characters then end up making a name for themselves. So the story that we're telling when we play Fire Emblem is our character's very own epic tales, just as we see in the beginning of multiple games. Marth, the first lord of the series, is a perfect example of this in action, as he's a character who both follows in the hero's footsteps and has a legacy that exists even beyond his own game. In his own story, Marth is the successor and descendant of Anri, who founded the kingdom of Altea. Anri became widely known as a hero for gaining the Falchion from the Ice Dragon Temple and defeating Medeus. 100 years later, Marth in his own tale will succeed Anri by embarking on the same path he took, now called Anri's Way, and even defeating Medeus twice. For being at the forefront of both the War of Shadows and the War of Heroes, Marth gets dubbed the Hero King, a legacy that we create alongside him when we play his games. The interesting thing about Marth is that his legacy as a character has had an impact on the real world. Due to Super Smash Bros. Melee's inclusion of Marth, the Fire Emblem series got Western eyes on it. He's the reason most people played or introduced to the series. In that sense, the Hero King's name holds a lot of weight. That's the legacy we get to see in Fire Emblem Awakening, where Marth's reputation as Hero King is widely spread, along with Almond Celica to a lesser extent. This is the only time in this series where a character's legacy that the player had a hand in has a historical impact on the game. We experience the journey of the Hero King, so it's almost as if us, the players, are being acknowledged as well whenever they refer to it. Then we get to his legacy's impact on others, with his direct descendant Lucina being awestruck and inspired by his tales. Marth gets to be her personal hero.
That cannot be. I grew up believing in these tales. Hero King Marth was the hope for all who lived in my world. That's why I took your name and fought to spread that hope.
I always wondered if we could play a game that's the historical origin story to the world, rather than following up after one, or what our character's impact on the world will look like after we beat the game. We luckily get to see that with Marth, and it's beyond just fan service or cheap reference. It's the story we experienced alongside the character, and that was an interesting narrative to follow. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know if you think I missed anything or sort of addressed anything, or if you have any agreements or disagreements. Please like the video, comment, subscribe. Have a good one.